Let's dive into tariffs, a classic tool of economic statecraft. At its core, a tariff is a tax on imported goods and services, making foreign products more expensive for domestic consumers. Governments use tariffs to protect local industries, generate revenue, and sometimes as leverage in international disputes. Tariffs can pressure other countries to change policies without direct conflict, making them a powerful diplomatic tool. But tariffs are a double-edged sword. While they may shield certain industries, they almost always raise consumer prices and risk retaliation. Trade wars can disrupt global supply chains and create uncertainty for businesses everywhere. Most modern economies prefer free trade agreements, aiming to reduce tariffs for greater efficiency and lower prices. Yet, recent moves to reintroduce tariffs signal a shift toward protectionism, prioritizing national interests over global integration. This sets the stage for economic conflict and realignment in international relations. In 2025, President Trump's administration unleashed sweeping tariffs on Canada and Mexico, upending North American trade. Canada's steel industry was hit with a 50% tariff, threatening a vital sector and its U.S. export market. Mexico faced 25% tariffs on pharmaceuticals and a broad range of goods, justified by linking trade to border security and drug enforcement. These measures blurred economic and security policy, straining diplomatic ties and creating deep uncertainty. Trump's rhetoric, suggesting Canada could become the 51st state and authorizing potential military action against Mexican cartels, fueled the crisis. The tariffs challenged decades of integration under NAFTA and USMCA, signaling a willingness to bypass established agreements. By targeting key industries, the administration aimed to force concessions, betting Canada and Mexico would have to comply. But this aggressive approach would soon face unexpected resistance. The tariffs' impact on Canada was swift and severe. Steel exports to the U.S. plummeted, forcing layoffs and stalling investment. Canada's economy contracted, and uncertainty rippled through manufacturing and construction. Mexico's pharmaceutical sector, once a rising star, was crippled by new tariffs, while broader levies hit multiple industries at once. Mexican businesses faced impossible choices: absorb losses or risk losing U.S. customers. The integrated North American supply chain, especially in autos, was thrown into chaos, raising costs for all three countries. Job losses and rising prices hit ordinary Canadians and Mexicans, turning abstract policy into real hardship. The pain was widespread, fueling public anxiety and political urgency. The disruption threatened North America's status as a manufacturing powerhouse. Facing a common threat, Canada and Mexico began to see the value in closer cooperation. In September 2025, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney met Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum in Mexico City. This was no routine visit, it was a strategic summit, driven by the shared challenge of U.S. tariffs. Both leaders recognized the upcoming 2026 USMCA review as a critical battleground. Their goal: forge a united front and coordinate strategies, refusing to be divided by Washington. At a joint press conference, Carney declared, "We will move forward together," signaling a new era of solidarity. Sheinbaum echoed the sentiment, emphasizing mutual respect and the necessity of cooperation. The summit marked a public declaration: Canada and Mexico would stand together, prioritizing their partnership over individual U.S. ties. This alliance would reshape the continent's diplomatic landscape. The Mexico City summit produced more than just diplomatic statements. It marked the beginning of a comprehensive Canada-Mexico strategic partnership, signaling a new chapter in North American relations. For the first time, both nations elevated their relationship, placing it at the very center of their foreign policy strategies, not simply as partners of the United States, but as independent allies forging their own path. A cornerstone of this new alliance was a bold initiative: Canadian investment in modernizing Mexican ports, creating direct sea routes that would allow goods to flow between the two countries without passing through U.S. territory, reducing reliance on American infrastructure. Upgraded port facilities, streamlined customs, and improved transport networks promised both countries greater economic independence and resilience. The partnership also addressed security concerns head-on, with joint law enforcement operations targeting cross-border crime, drug trafficking, and other shared threats. By working together, they aimed to neutralize U.S. political arguments, strengthen their own positions, and demonstrate unity in the face of external pressures. This bold shift challenged the old hub-and-spoke model that had long placed the U.S. at the center of North American trade, and instead built a strong, direct link between Canada and Mexico, opening new opportunities for both. The new alliance reflected a growing realization among leaders that together, they could be stronger and more adaptable in the face of U.S. unpredictability and shifting global dynamics. This partnership was not just a temporary reaction to current events but a structural change designed to last. It set the stage for a new era in North American geopolitics, where Canada and Mexico charted their own course, together. Trump's tariff strategy was designed to isolate Canada and Mexico, putting intense pressure on both countries to concede to U.S. demands and accept less favorable trade terms. The administration believed that by flexing economic muscle, America could force its neighbors to the negotiating table on its own terms. Instead, the move had the opposite effect. It united Canada and Mexico as never before, prompting them to forge a formal alliance right on America's doorstep. Their shared experience of being targeted by U.S. tariffs brought them closer, strengthening their resolve to stand together. By treating both neighbors as adversaries rather than partners, the U.S. inadvertently created a common cause between them and diminished its own leverage in future negotiations. The sense of trust and cooperation that once defined North American relations began to erode. The tariffs didn't just hurt Canada and Mexico, they also backfired on American companies and consumers. Costs for raw materials and finished goods rose, leading to higher prices in stores and putting additional strain on U.S. businesses and families. As a result, new Canada-Mexico trade routes began to emerge, threatening long-term harm to U.S. logistics and transportation industries. These new pathways allowed goods to bypass the U.S. entirely, reducing American influence over continental trade. Rather than bringing its neighbors to heel, the policy sparked determined efforts to sidestep the U.S. altogether, accelerating trade deals and partnerships that excluded American participation. Diplomatic trust eroded, and the future of the USMCA, the very agreement meant to modernize North American trade, was thrown into doubt, with uncertainty clouding the region's economic future. The stability of the North American bloc, once a cornerstone of U.S. economic strength, was now undermined, leaving the region more fragmented and less predictable. America First, intended to assert U.S. dominance, instead triggered a strategic realignment that left the United States more isolated on the world stage and less able to shape the future of North American trade. The lesson is clear: using economic force can easily backfire, reshaping alliances and power structures in ways that are both unexpected and difficult to reverse. The continent's balance of power was shifting, and the U.S. found itself facing the consequences of its own strategy. The Canada-Mexico alliance marks a significant turning point for North American trade, signaling a new era of cooperation and mutual benefit. The continent's economic structure, long dominated by the U.S., is evolving into a more balanced partnership. This shift is not just about trade, it's about redefining economic power and influence in the region. If the new axis holds, it could provide a powerful counterweight to U.S. influence and reduce vulnerability to political shocks. This alliance could reshape the geopolitical landscape of North America. The 2026 USMCA review will test this unity, as Canada and Mexico negotiate as a bloc. Their ability to present a united front will be crucial in maintaining their newfound strength. Direct sea routes and upgraded ports could permanently alter trade flows, creating a resilient north-south corridor. This infrastructure development is a testament to their commitment to long-term growth. This is more than economic strategy, it's an investment in sovereignty. By strengthening their economic ties, Canada and Mexico are asserting their independence and securing their future. Trump's tariffs may be remembered less for what they achieved, and more for the unity they inspired. The adversity faced has only strengthened the resolve of Canada and Mexico to work together. Canada and Mexico have discovered the strength of their partnership, laying the groundwork for a more integrated future. Their collaboration is setting a new standard for international relations. The story of North American trade is no longer written by one country, but co-authored by three partners, walking together towards a shared vision of prosperity and unity.